Only 55 movies have ever made $1 billion at the box office, so here are the most surprising movies to ever make $1 billion. One of the most surprising smash hits of all time has to be Aquaman from the DCU. This film crossed over $1.1 billion at the box office, which is really just absolutely insane looking back at it. To put it in perspective, Aquaman made over $300 million more than the second highest grossing DCEU film of all time, so you can't even credit it to like DC hype with things like the Justice League and Batman vs Superman, because it somehow made way more than those. Like, I guess there was just superhero hype in general at 2018. Don't get me wrong, Aquaman is one of my favorite DCEU films. The film is simply just an absolute blast to watch. It's super easy, lighthearted, so I understand the general audience probably just really gravitated towards this, but $1 billion is really insane, especially things like this year that we're seeing like movies like Dune and Wicked struggle to make that mark. It's crazy to think Aquaman did it. You know what else is crazy? And no, I'm not talking about the low taper fade meme, is that Top Gun Maverick in 2022, when movie theaters were still pretty much dead, recovering from the pandemic, absolutely crushed the box office and was a huge summer hit, making over $1 billion. Like, I know Tom Cruise is box office gold and people love to go see his films, but this making more than like any Mission Impossible film was something I don't think anybody saw coming. And I'm not saying I'm surprised the movie was successful. Like, obviously the first Top Gun was kind of a hit and it's been over 35 years and we finally got a sequel, so there was going to be a lot of hype and interest to see what was happening here, but I just did not expect this to be more than like a $400 to $500 million action movie at the box office. $1 billion is really insane, but I think it really shows that people do just gravitate towards good scripts and the stories. The simple thing is that this was a good movie that everybody could just go to and enjoy in the summer. I feel like we really don't talk about how crazy the success of Zootopia really is. If you scroll through the list of the highest grossing films of all time, it's like 99% franchise and sequel films, and the only other standalones are like one other. You have Barbie over there, which is really still an IP, and then just Zootopia out of nowhere, an original idea crossing $1 billion. Again, yes, it is just a good movie, but Disney really could do no wrong back in like 2010 to 2018. Everything they touched just turned to gold, and this was no exception. The thing is, other Disney and Pixar like original ideas like Inside Out and Moana that became absolute smash hits and really grew a huge fan base, I feel like those were talked about way more, even though they both made under $1 billion, and Zootopia actually made the most out of any of them. Now, I guess this is kind of breaking the franchise rule because it's not technically going to be a standalone film anymore, since we are getting Zootopia 2 in November of this year. Like, I can't even imagine the next time we're going to get an original idea from either Disney or Pixar that's going to make this much money and become such a hit. Like, they have Elio coming out from Pixar. That's not going to even come close to $1 billion. Disney Studios just released Wish as their last like non-sequel film. That thing didn't come close. It was one of the biggest flops of last year. Like, yeah, Pixar is going to keep trying new original ideas, luckily, but they are doing more focusing on sequels, and so is Disney. I don't even know how many more original ideas we're going to get in the future. Speaking of Disney, I have to mention the Pirates franchise, because yes, these films are super beloved, but how fast they became just a cultural smash hit is kind of insane, especially Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest, the second one, because the first Pirates was huge. It made $600 million, and then Pirates of the Caribbean 2 suddenly jumped up to $1 billion. And it absolutely blew away the competition, being the highest grossing film by over $300 million in 2006, blowing away things like The Da Vinci Code, Ice Age, a James Bond film, Night at the Museum, Cars, an X-Men film, and Mission Impossible. They didn't even come close. I really hope they desperately give us one more great Pirates film, maybe a send-off for Johnny Depp as the character or something. I'd love to see this franchise just go off on one more film, because I feel like there's just so many more stories to tell in this world. Of course, I have to mention Barbie. If you've been around for a long time, not even when I was uploading to YouTube, but only on TikTok a year ago, I made like summer box office predictions. I was like, oh, Barbie's gonna make like $500 to $600 million and be a pretty high grossing movie. Yeah, I was completely wrong. This thing went over $1.4 billion. So yeah, I still predicted it was going to be a big film, but I never saw over $1 billion coming for this. Like, yeah, it had the star power of Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie, but stars don't really sell movies anymore. I didn't know Barbie had this much pull. It was just a perfect mixture of it actually being a good movie on its own. The Barbenheimer hype was insane, obviously. Honorable mention to Oppenheimer, by the way, making $976 million. If it only made a little bit more, it would easily be on this list. Deadpool Wolverine is kind of on this list in a different way, because it wasn't necessarily surprising. I think I gave it like a 70-80% chance in my one prediction video to make over $1 billion. But I feel like we have to just take a step back and realize, yeah, when I had all the information about seeing the trailer and the hype online about this film, I felt like it was guaranteed. But go back like 8 years ago or something to the first Deadpool film and tell people that soon the highest grossing R-rated film ever made would be a Deadpool and Wolverine movie. They did it right after 4 years of super mediocre Marvel movies, people claiming that the MCU's dead, people are tired of Marvel and superhero films in general. Just in May earlier this year, people were saying the box office in general was dead when movies like Furiosa and The Fall Guy flopped, and then boom, this comes out of nowhere, easily the biggest opening of the year at the time it came out, and it was just insane. If you think I missed any surprising $1 billion movies, let me know in the comments below any that really blew you away that they made that much money, and make sure to tap above me to watch my video where I predict what will be the biggest and most successful movies and the biggest flops of 2026.